What's up, everybody? My name is Mikey, and today I wanted to take you along for a quick trip through the Show Me State, all the way to a little town called Hannibal, hometown of legendary American writer Mark Twain. Even if you know his books, I promise there are a few surprises waiting for you along the way. This is Missouri. Bing. The Show Me State. This is St. Louis. Bing. I actually grew up a few hours south of here in a small town called Festus. Bing. So while I'm exploring new ground, it still feels a lot like coming home. That's actually a big part of why I'm here. Figured walking in the footsteps of another American writer might help me connect with my own past, and maybe even make my path forward a little clearer. The drive out of St. Louis towards Hannibal was going to take about 2 hours, so I jumped into my rental and headed out. Quick refresher, Mark Twain, born Samuel Langhorne Clemens in 1835, wasn't just a Missouri writer. He was a humorist, a riverboat pilot, a storyteller, and one of the sharpest observers of American life. His novels, The Adventures of Tom Sawyer and Adventures of Huckleberry Finn, were inspired by his own childhood growing up in Hannibal. Twain's blend of humor, adventure, and fearless truth-telling made him one of the most influential voices in American literature. Time flew by as I made my way north. My mind wandered to my own childhood memories growing up out here. Until, I don't know if they claim that this was the world's biggest fireworks store, but it definitely seemed to be at the time. You know I had to stop, but more on that later. Once you get out of the city, the drive is pretty much pure countryside. Not much else to do but turn up the radio and let Missouri roll by. When I rolled into Hannibal, I was immediately smitten by what I saw. There's a timeless charm to this old west town, nestled along the banks of the Mississippi River. Everywhere you look, there's a tribute to Mark Twain and his iconic characters, Tom Sawyer and Huckleberry Finn. I was constantly surprised by how much of this town inspired the stories that Twain wrote. There was no better way to walk the line of fact and fiction than to go about exploring the town, so that's exactly what I set out to do. I came across the Welshman's house, which in The Adventures of Huck Finn is where old Huck hides out at one point. In real life, the Welshman's house is now home to the Huck Finn Freedom Center dedicated to Jim's journey. The character of Jim in Huck Finn was actually based on a real-life man named Daniel Quarterly, who Mark Twain befriended at an early age. This small and humble home is where Samuel Clemens' story begins. No matter where the river took him or how deep he explored the caves, he still found his way home. I must have been channeling Mark Twain himself because I could feel the current of the river pulling me towards it. And right there at the dock, Samuel Clemens himself. Did he know back then that one day he'd write stories that would capture imaginations for generations? Probably not. Just then, this nearby boat rumbled to life, its diesel engines humming and the water churning beneath it. It felt like the river itself was calling. And the next thing you know, I found myself on a riverboat. The captain gave us some local history while we floated along.
And he would drop a weighted line or a pole into the water. This line or pole was marked off every 6 feet. If they had 2 marks go in the water, he would holler to the pilot, "Mark Twain."
It's a pretty cool nickname, old Sam must have been thinking. Part history tour, part river adventure, and every bit of it feels like stepping into one of Mark Twain's old stories. We cruised along the mighty Mississippi, the same river that shaped Twain's whole childhood. Back when he was just a kid named Samuel Clemens, he'd sit along these banks watching steamboats float by. That's actually where the dream first started. Just across the river lies Jackson's Island, the real-life inspiration for some of Huck Finn's most famous escapades. Sam and his friends would sneak off to the island to fish, camp, and taste a little freedom. For them, that island wasn't just a place, it was their whole world. And those wild, muddy adventures became the stories Mark Twain would later write down for the rest of us. Standing there, feeling the wind in my face, hearing the water slap against the side of the boat, and looking out at those same shores, suddenly, I got it. That pull, that restlessness, the call of the river, something you can still feel today. So if you ever make it to Hannibal, grab a ticket for the Riverboat. Trust me, you won't regret it. Still trying to make the most of the day. I kept exploring, and that's when I stumbled across these dioramas. Quick challenge for you. See how fast you are with the pause button if you want to check each one out in detail. If you didn't already know Twain's stories, your imagination could really run wild trying to piece together the scenes. Seeing them all lined up like this is just fun, and honestly, it's kind of a genius way to market a book or a movie. I wanted to stay and see more of Hannibal, but I had gotten my next lead while on the river. Lover's Leap is where I stopped next to look over Hannibal one last time. I wasn't sure I'd seen all that it had to offer. The world is vast and my time here is short. I couldn't leave Hannibal without stopping in at the very same caves that Mark Twain once explored. Cave Hollow Village, population 6 people and a cat. There were little creeks and streams leading up to the cave visitor center. I think they have this map in case anyone gets lost. Figured it couldn't hurt to snap a photo. Just outside the cave, there was a stone map which showed the 29 trips abroad that Mark Twain took. Egypt, eh? Enough delay. It was time to check out the cave. Passages twisted and turned like a tangled ball of string, leading nowhere and everywhere all at once. The cave was a world unto itself, cold and silent. Mark Twain described such a cave as a labyrinth with no end. A place where a boy's imagination could run wild with pirates and treasure, ghosts and hidden dangers. Shadows flickered like restless spirits, and every twist of the path seemed to promise either a thrilling discovery or the fear of being lost forever. Twain himself once said the cave was a realm of enchantment and mystery, a playground for childhood bravery and curiosity. The walls of Mark Twain Cave read like a secret history carved in stone. Hundreds of names, dates, and messages scratched into the limestone by visitors spanning generations. Among the most famous names is Jesse James, who supposedly hid in the cave while evading the law. Each etching is a whisper from the past, proof that this cave wasn't just a setting for Tom Sawyer's fictional mischief, but a real-life refuge where imagination and lawlessness often crossed paths. I timed it just right to get back to the city. You see, some of my first memories were born on long summer afternoons that stretched lazily into nights like this one. Back then, my friends and I would tear through the fields, running wild against the fading light, seeing who could catch the most fireflies before the sky swallowed the last bit of sun. And in those fleeting moments, the line between reality and make-believe disappeared completely. Holding a firefly in your hand felt like holding a tiny piece of the impossible, proof that magic wasn't just real, but right there, flickering between your fingers. I guess tonight, I wasn't just chasing fireflies, I was chasing that feeling. I wanted to find a wide, quiet stretch of earth, cup my hands around a glowing little bug, and maybe, just maybe, hold that magic again. I was starting to feel pretty worn out, but the trip wasn't over yet. As I crossed the river, I caught another glimpse of the St. Louis Arch, and even after all these years, its sheer size still leaves me in awe. I found a spot to park behind the casino, cross a set of train tracks, and climb this little hill. It felt like the perfect place to end things with a few fireworks.
Sick! Oh, shit.
After everything, the caves, the riverboat, the fireflies, this felt like the right kind of send-off. was a short trip, but I made every minute count. A little adventure, a little history, a little Missouri magic.